a very worthwhile webinar. I think this is maybe a bit different than what we've done in the past. So it won't be tons of slides and Paul sharing information. Now we've got some key members here that are going to kind of share their experience with technology partner programs. So maybe we'll kick it off first and just have the folks introduce themselves. So maybe start with you first, Todd.
Come off mute here. Sorry, guys. Yeah, this is Todd Roberts. I work for VMware. I'm a director of partner relationships. So we handle all types of different partners, including the technology partner alliance partners that we're going to be sort of touching on today. So I've been with VMware, I guess, going on 19 years. So been around a little while. So glad to talk to everyone today.
Excellent. Maybe Jason, you can go next.
Absolutely. So I'm Jason Longpre. I am the VP of Worldwide Support here at Nutanix, based out of the Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina area. I've been with Nutanix for, I think, about 4.5 years at this point in time, and excited to talk about how we really help make sure we deliver the best possible experience for our customers.
Excellent. Scott, I'll have you go next.
Excellent. So Scott Froelich, I'm the Vice President of Customer Experience and Engagement, which is how we frame up our support programs in the customer experience fashion at Red Hat. I've been here about 5 years. I am based out of the Raleigh-Durham area as well as Jason. Just looking forward to this conversation today.
Excellent, excellent. So I'm going to just kind of frame it a little bit, and then we're going to dig right into some questions for Scott, Todd, and Jason. And then looks like you guys won't be able to come off mute, so definitely use the chat to ask questions if needed. So first of all, just a quick view of the technology partner models, and just so you kind of understand a little bit what we're going to focus on today. The one off to the left, the common customer kind of meet in the market, obviously that's where TSANet started. Before there was really even technology partner programs. So that's really kind of where TSANet started and built up over time. But we've seen over the last, I would say, 10 or 11 years, and Todd, the VMware TAP program was the first, is vendors starting to launch partner alliances and technology partner programs. So we've seen a lot of success with that over the years. That's really grown the TSANet membership, and I think you'll hear from all three of these folks how that adds value to their membership as well. So that's really going to be the focus. And then obviously there's also this concept of strategic partners, OEMs. We're not going to be covering that today. So really the focus here is on the middle one, the technology partner programs. We see, if we look at all of these, kind of the best practice is to move through these three general areas. So obviously a partner comes on, they build a solution, get assistance, with licenses, developer support, those types of things. But ultimately, it results in a validated configuration. And this is really the trigger where, now all the things get put in place to properly sell and support the solution. So obviously, there's a lot of things that go into making sure it shows up in the marketplace. It's properly presented within there. But then also this triggers the join of TSANet, which creates the bidirectional collaborative support arrangement. So really see these validated configurations as really being the key and the trigger to get the bidirectional collaborative support in place. So if we look at the best practices, we see them really around these three areas, and it really starts with support and partner team alignment. And we'll certainly, I think that's one good question for all these vendors here, because I think it certainly doesn't come easy where you have support and partner teams really working together as one. Same goal, same focus. But if you look at that, it does result in these three things. One is the validated configurations are important. The onboarding and ongoing management. So it's not just let's add a bunch of partners and, great, we've got hundreds of things in our marketplace. This whole ongoing management is super important as well. And then the third one, and obviously this is a challenge, I think, for a lot of our members, but these three have really accomplished this, and that is making it a requirement to join TSANet. So if you got a valid configuration, you want to be in the marketplace, well, it's a requirement to join TSANet. And Jason, I think we stole this from your team a couple weeks ago, but really see this as the end result, right? And that is allowing the sales teams to sell with confidence, and then the support teams to provide support with confidence. So this is kind of, we call the single pager on the best practices. I would say that this kind of sums it up, but obviously there's a lot of details, and I'm going to switch over to let's see, I think I can stop presenting. Okay, so I'm going to kind of kick into then Q&A. And again, I think there's ability for folks to go into the chat and ask questions. So let me know if you guys have any questions, but I'll kind of kick a few off and see if we have a few folks that have follow-on questions. So maybe start first. I think obviously all of these partner programs are sizable. I think one of the reasons that these vendors come to TSANet and say, hey, let's host our ecosystem on here is to manage costs and make sure it's a very efficient way to bring on partners. So I know, Scott, you've got some insight on that, on kind of what's the Red Hat view of it, and kind of how you staff your partner program and the value that TSANet brings to that.
Yeah, great question, Paul. As I think about kind of the overall value prop of using TSANet for partner program implementation, when you implement with a partner, right, even if you do traditional support implementation plans, et cetera, you can never predict the volume of cases you're going to see in that exchange, right? It might be one case, it might be 1,000 cases. So you're not implementing something even in that partner program when you implement it with paperwork and lawyers, et cetera. You're not implementing something based on volume. You're implementing something we need an agreement there so we can work together. Really, what the TSANet implementation allows us to do is implement it at scale and ultimately think about the cost as we implement. We're able to implement approximately 250 partners using the frameworks in place from TSANet as a mandatory part of our implementation. It takes about a half a person's worth of headcount to drive that implementation across our business and maintain it ongoing. It's a dramatic difference from what that would cost if we were to drive things like support implementation plans, have lawyers review those. Just the cost comparative is something that, at Red Hat, we're very cost conscious on how we go forward and implement. And this is absolutely a best practice that anybody should be considering from an implementation perspective. It's a great opportunity to really drive your program at scale at a very low cost point.
Excellent, thank you. So we have one question. I'll answer it from a high level, but then it'd be great if one of you could chime in maybe a little bit more detail. So the question was, what does a validated configuration mean? And I think if you navigate over to Nutanix website or Red Hat, et cetera, what you'll see is this product, this version works with this partner's product, this partner's version, right? So it is at that level of detail where you kind of really understand what's the combination that's been implemented and tested. But maybe I'll kind of open it up for you guys to see if you've got any other viewpoints on that. And I'm assuming that's driven by the partner, correct? The partner is the one that's doing the validation.
Yeah, this is Jason Longprey. I'll take kind of from our perspective within Nutanix. We kind of sit there at that kind of platform layer, right? And we have over 800 validated solutions with over 500 partners. So just to reiterate Scott's point, makes it very simple and easy to maintain and drive forward. But what that validated solution is there's many of applications that could sit on top of our platform that work with Nutanix, right? And partners want to have that exposure and have that ability to say, hey, this works with Nutanix. So we have a process where they can validate that solution, show that it's validated, pass along to us, and then become a technology partner within the Nutanix ecosystem, right? So that's good for them as a partner. It's good for us as we continue to kind of expand what you can do on our platform. So that's truly what that validated configuration means. It's tested, it works, we know it works. So that joint customer experience should be optimal. But then when it's not, then we can leverage TSANet to have a communication path, even an escalation path between companies to figure out what may or may not be working.
Excellent. Appreciate. Okay, go ahead, Todd.
No, I was going to say, yeah, it's very similar for us as well. You get your VMware Ready badge, and then your certified configuration, and that's when you get placed into the marketplace, and we can use things like TSANet to collaborate on shared customer issues.
Great. Okay, so maybe the next question while we're waiting on some more coming from the teams. Not that we're keeping score, but Todd, I know VMware has the largest partner program out there. So maybe kind of a question for you, right? And that is, how has TSANet kind of allowed you to scale up into your 300 plus partners that are on your platform?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think we've been in there the longest, as you said, so we've got a little bit of a head start, but it certainly helps us with scale. It's, some of the points that Scott already mentioned with writing individual SIPs with partners. We don't have to deal with that. That's good news to the legal team, but that's also good news to the support teams, right? They're not having to think when they receive a support case, okay, this is partner A, I do this with them, partner B, I do that with them. When you're dealing with 300 plus partners, you don't want to have to think, how do I treat this person, or how do I work with them, or what's my engagement protocol here? Everything's the same. So they get a ticket, and it's the same every time. And then obviously, if it's repeatable, if there's less error, there's less confusion, there's a better experience for the partner and the shared customer. Having that common framework allows us to work consistently across all different partner types.
Great, excellent. So maybe I heard. Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in. I think I'd add to Todd's point. I'd only add the fact that I think it also simplifies your implementation for your partner team.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Company, right. Because I know Todd is one of very few in VMware that drive that partner organization. And likewise at Red Hat, it's a very small organization that drives that engagement, but it's also consistent, predictable, exactly how it's going to work out. And you use TSANet as a foundation of that program as you implement.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I will add one other thing, Paul, which I sort of forgot, and you mentioned it, is the onboarding piece, right? TSANet really helps us out with that onboarding piece. If we had to do that, ad hoc, it would be a nightmare to handle all those different ways that different people want to work. Right now, we make it a requirement that you're a TSANet member, and if you want to collaborate with us, this is the way we work, and it makes it very simple and very straightforward.
Yeah, and I would say, certainly there's value, and we're talking scale, from the VMware that's managing hundreds and hundreds of partners. But I think as Scott indicated, there is value to the individual partner as well, right? Maybe the first program they join, they're kind of, oh, this is different. Why are we doing this, right? But then when they get invited to the second program and the third program and the fourth program, then it's like, okay, this is easy. I know how to do it. I'm already a member. Let's just add that. Let's add that in there. Okay. So there's one other question coming in as well. Let's see. For TSANet to help with onboarding partners, do the vendor partners have to be part of TSANet? So basically the question of, hey, do they need to be part of TSANet? Yes or no? And I can answer that straight off. They do need to be part of TSANet. It is a different process. If you're an existing TSANet member, you basically come to the partner program page and you say who you are, and you're just mapped into there. So the onboarding process is super, super simple. If you are a brand new company that is not a TSANet member, it's a little bit more complicated. But again, this onboarding piece is pretty streamlined, right? You provide some information on your company information, your contact. It dynamically creates an account for you in the TSANet Connect system. We ask you a couple questions. It creates your inbound process, and then we have Brittany who jumps on there and validates your inbound process, make sure everything's kind of working before we map you in. But obviously, then once you're a TSANet member, joining other partner programs is super easy. Okay. So customer experience, I heard Todd talk about that a few times, and I know Jason, you've mentioned it quite a bit, right? As far as why do you do this, right? And like I said, I snagged that quote from your side. So I know it's not just customer experience, right, for the customer, right? It's a sales team, it's a support team, it's the partners, it's a customer. So maybe talk a little bit about what you see on that side.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, as you mentioned, I always talk about customer experience, right? Nutanix is known for delivering an exceptional customer experience. We really built our support organization around being different and trying to deliver the best experience, right? But at the end of the day, we don't control all the variables in a customer solution, right? And so what we do is we look for opportunities to keep things simple, right? And it's simple across the board, right? Simple as far as onboarding additional partners to work with us, right? Simple as far as the SRE. I think Scott and Todd mentioned this, the SRE experience, right? When we build one workflow, right? Whether it's a very strategic partner like Red Hat, right, or it's a small technology partner that has an app that runs on our system, right? The same workflow for the SRE helps reduce the complications of their day-to-day work and let them focus just solely on what the customer problem is, right? And then that end customer experience, right, becomes easier, right? Because I know that I can work with my my vendor of choice or my partner of choice, and if they can't get the problem resolved, there's a whole community around them that they can help them work with to get that resolution. So it keeps it simple, right? It makes it really easy to work across the different technology partners. It provides a better experience for everybody involved, and as mentioned, it doesn't take much to manage, right? So that's what it helps align directly to our North Star, right? Is deliver an NPS, right? And yeah, I can't say much more than it fits right in and it works well. And I'd recommend, as everybody else here, start as soon as possible and make that your standard moving forward. And it just simplifies it for you.
Excellent. So this is probably a good segue into I'll call it the advice question, right? So I know I got quite a few folks on here that, maybe they have partner programs and maybe TSANet's not embedded in there, or maybe they don't really have a structured partner program yet. And it's something we're starting to get more than a handful of partners. Maybe we should look at this is more of a structured thing. So maybe some guidance or advice that you would give to folks that maybe are just starting, or maybe folks that there's been a partner program in place for a very long time, but support's just not a part of that discussion. So I don't know who wants to raise their hand first, but it'd be good to hear from all three of you guys on your viewpoints there.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, go ahead. We're all jumping in. Go ahead, Scott. My apologies.
Yeah, no problem. I'll go ahead and jump in first here. Like the advice I would give ultimately would be to go all in on kind of the concept of a highly repeatable partner program through TSANet. And the reason I would give that advice is because, like I said earlier, independent of the volume you're going to get between partners, you can't predict volume, right? It's like having this in place is like an insurance policy. You're going to have a partner program in place no matter what you do, independent of case volumes, et cetera, that flow. You do need processes that kind of define that, making it highly repeatable and scalable. At these price points, I'm willing to bet that you couldn't run one SIP through the process of creation as well as legal sign off at the price point that you can pay through TSANet to implement a partner program and have it fully implemented up and running. I've got to imagine that TSANet on that side is cheaper to do, just based on our experience from a Red Hat perspective.
I would say don't make support your last consideration, right? Like it should be there from the beginning of the conversation, and using TSANet makes it very simple to explain the value of support and how support can enhance the sale and the marketing of the product. For all the reasons we described, right? There shouldn't launch a product and then at the very end go, well, how are we going to support this thing, right? You should be talking about that day one, and TSANet should be part of that conversation.
Yeah, and so the kind of continue on that same train and really around the advice of it. It's even if you don't start from the beginning, and I kind of hinted at this before, right? It's an opportunity if you're within kind of a support realm today, right? It's easy to feel value of, hey, we can help our customer out for their benefit, but think of it from even an alliance's perspective, a partnership perspective from a company, right? All of us want to scale up partners, right? The more partners that we have involved, the more individuals are talking about our different solutions, the better it is, right, for the overall ecosystem in your company, right? And so if you're within a support function, right, talk to your alliances team, right, and partner teams about how do they do it today? What's their expectation? Can they repeat that,
Yeah.
100 times in a day, right? Right, and start asking questions about what can they do, and then kind of look at, well, what can we do with the platform that we have in place that not only helps accelerate from that perspective, but then it has the perfect tie-in on that support experience, right? So evaluate what you have today if you already have something. If you don't, great, start here. It's much easier, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you do, right, which I'm sure most folks will, look at what it takes, right? And the headache involved in that and how you can streamline it.
Yeah. It's very nice to come into a conversation and where someone's like, well, we need to figure out how we're going to do support. It's very nice to be able to come into that conversation and say, well, we know how we're going to do it. Like, this is how we do it. Right. So it's once you have that in place, it's repeatable, and people will start to understand it and see value in it.
Now, I'll give you an anecdotal kind of reference point. Jason and I put together a partner agreement, I think last year, Jason, something like that.
Yep.
I think we were on the phone for 60 seconds, and that's all it took, right? And off we went, right? It didn't require much thought beyond that. We knew exactly how we wanted to implement because we're both kind of ingrained in this thought process and kind of knew we wanted to use this as a foundation.
Yeah, 100%. I think 15 seconds was like, hey, we should grab a beer. And then 45 seconds were, how do we do this? Oh, that's easy.
That's why it was so quick.
No, we didn't have the beer then. That was later.
Yeah. No, I will kind of echo Todd, I think you kind of mentioned it as well. And of course, Jason, it was in your presentation a couple of weeks ago, was this, the alliance managers and kind of partner teams, they're all about sales and spreading the product, and you know what I mean, that's kind of their focus, right? So they may not think about the support first, right? So I think kind of going to them and talking about how this helps the sales process and helps the partner confidence, right? That now you're talking their language, right? Versus, hey, operationally we need this way of working, right? Maybe that's not their top priority, but if they understand, hey, this is something we could tie into our marketing, which all three of you do, right? You got the TSANet in there, right? You really kind of use that as this is what makes our partner programs work well, and it gives the partners confidence that they'll get support. So that sales and marketing, that's what they want to hear. Okay, we got a few minutes if anybody has any other questions. Otherwise, if there's any final words of wisdom from you guys, you got a couple of minutes to maybe wrap up your view of things.
Yeah, I think
we have the high points. Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, yeah, I think we covered it an overall basis, but if anybody has any follow-up questions, reach out to Paul. Paul can send you my way, but happy to Happy to help answer any questions, right? I think from our perspective, it's simple, it works, right? We're very highly supportive of it, but there's always devil in the details. So if you have any additional questions, don't hesitate to reach.
Yeah, and we certainly got a lot of content and things on that side, right? So obviously we're recording this, but you know, we have a partner program playbook, we have various things like that. And then of course it's not the first time that we've done this, right? Yeah, here's the 3 best on the phone, but you know, we've got you know, probably a dozen of these partner programs out there. So we've done it before. We certainly kind of know what works, what doesn't work, so we can give some guidance on that as well. Okay. Well, I think if there's I think one more question coming in. We're getting a lot of thumbs up, so that's good, guys. Yep, another thumbs up. So yeah, I'll just reiterate. You know, we'll be sending the recording out, a couple of these high level slides, but we'll also give you some links to some additional content as well. And then certainly if you got some questions, you know, you'll have my email in there. So it's just paul@tsanet.org, and we'll make sure you get the answer to it. If I can't answer it, then as you can hopefully see on this call, we got a lot of experts with even deeper knowledge on, you know, how do things really work inside the vendor side. Okay, well, I appreciate it, guys, and everybody that joined, and we'll talk to you later.